We've all been told to save for retirement, but no one actually told us what that number is. How much is enough? What's too much? What's too little? When do we get to hang it up, kick back, and let our nest egg take care of us without panicking every time the stock market takes a dip or inflation spikes? So in this video, I'm going to break down the real math that's behind these retirement numbers. We'll talk about something called the 4% rule, what it is, how it's supposed to work, how it changes depending on your lifestyle, and why I think you might need more than it says if you want true peace of mind. The 4% rule is one of those commonly cited benchmarks for retirement planning. It comes from something called the Trinity Study, a 1998 analysis by 3 professors at Trinity University. They looked at historical stock and bond returns to figure out how much someone could safely withdraw from their retirement portfolio each year without running out of money over a 30-year span. And here's what they found. If you withdraw just 4% of your portfolio in year 1 and then adjust that number for inflation each year after that, there's a high likelihood, around 95% or so, that your money will last at least 30 years for your retirement. So a simple calculation of this, if you want to live on $80,000 a year in retirement, divide that by 0.04. That gives you a target of $2 million. But here's the problem. The 4% rule assumes a lot of things going on. A 50-50 stock and bond portfolio, 30 years of retirement, no more. Consistent annual spending, no big financial shocks or surprises going on in either the market or in your life. So while it's a helpful starting point, the real variable isn't just how much you save. It's how much you spend once you get to retirement. Your retirement number has far less to do with the market and far more to do with your spending behavior. For example, if your lifestyle is modest, you drive a paid-off car, you enjoy hobbies like hiking or reading, you live in a state with low property taxes, and you don't plan on traveling exotically every single month, you might only need $60,000 to $70,000 a year to feel comfortable. This comes out to about $1.5 to $1.7 million that you're gonna need for retirement. But now think about the other extreme. Maybe you finally reach your 60s and want to make up for lost time. You want to travel more, take more nice vacations. You want to join a country club, 5-star restaurants, luxury designer clothes, gifts to your kids and your grandkids, second home, maybe you're a snowbird, you want to get a place in Florida. Your lifestyle might not keep up with the $1.5 to $1.7 million like our previous example. You're probably gonna need at least $3 million now. The problem isn't just overspending, it's unpredictability. Life doesn't run on a spreadsheet. And in retirement, even a small miscalculation can snowball fast, which is why having a little extra cushion isn't a luxury, it's most likely a necessity. Let's look at some real world scenarios where this 4% rule might break down on you. First, healthcare surprises. In your 30s and 40s, you don't have as much healthcare issues as you do in your 60s and 70s. When you're in your 60s and 70s, that might become your biggest expense. Sure, Medicare might kick in and help you out, but it doesn't cover everything. Think long-term care, dental work, prescriptions, private insurance before the age of 65. One surgery, one chronic diagnosis, one unexpected fall having you end up in the hospital, and suddenly your entire year's budget is blown. Now multiply that risk over a 30-year retirement window. You can now see why a 4% withdrawal might not cut it. Second, lifestyle inflation in retirement. This one surprises people because the myth is that you automatically spend less in retirement. But let's be honest, when you finally have time for travel, for hanging out with your grandkids more, hobbies, golf, wine nights, spontaneous trips, doing whatever your heart desires because you're not clocking into work, do you really think you're gonna be living on less? Most likely not. You have more time on your hands, you're gonna wanna spend things to keep yourself busy. So many people spend more in those first 5 to 10 years of retirement than they ever expected. It's not because they're reckless, but because they're finally living. They want to enjoy what they've built. And honestly, they should. But if your financial plan was built on the idea that you would downsize and disappear from the world, that mismatch can become financially dangerous. Third, the market does not care about your calendar. The 4% rule is built on a historical simulation, but retirement doesn't happen based on a historical simulation. It happens in real time. If you retire in a year where the market tanks, 2000, 2008, 2020, 2022, and start pulling money from a portfolio that's already bleeding, that's called sequence of returns risk. You're selling low, locking in losses, and digging a hole you may never climb out of. It's not about average returns, it's about timing. And the 4% rule doesn't account for bad timing, which means if you retire into a bear market, even temporarily, your withdrawal rate might need to be closer to 3% or even 2.5% to avoid running out. And fourth, retirement isn't a set it and forget it formula. One of the biggest lies in personal finance is that retirement is a finish line, that you just hit a number, punch out, and everything just coasts after that. Retirement is dynamic. Expenses change, markets shift, family needs evolve. Maybe your parents need help. Maybe your kids move back in. Maybe you just get bored and spend more money trying to fill the days. Planning with the assumption that everything will stay stable is a recipe for stress and disaster. And when the 4% rule is treated as gospel without flexibility, people either spend too little out of fear and miss out on joy, or they spend too much early and panic later when the math no longer works. The 4% rule isn't useless. It's just incomplete. It gives you a rough compass, a direction, but it's not your entire map. Here's what I would do instead. It's not financial advice, it's just what I would personally do. Start with the 4% rule, but stress test it. Use it to get your rough number, but then run the math again with a 3.5% or even 3% rule. That simple shift builds in margin for error. So if you plan on spending $100,000 a year in retirement and the 4% rule said you needed 2.5 million, use 3% now, which shows you actually need 3.3 million. If the 4% rule works out, you have more than enough. If it doesn't, you've built in that cushion. Second, I would use dynamic withdrawal strategies. Instead of blindly taking out the same inflation adjusted amount each year, build in a flexible withdrawal range based on market conditions. Spend less in market downturns, a little more in bull years. This alone can add years to your portfolio lifespan. Next, I would build some non-market income streams, whether it's rental income through real estate, part-time work, a small business, anything that reduces the burden on your investment portfolio, you get more resilience. Expect the unexpected. Add a buffer, build a backup plan, account for taxes, plan for long-term care. You don't want to rely on your kids when you get older. Have a cash cushion or access to equity if you need it. And lastly, when the time comes, review your plan annually. See where you are. Are you on track with retirement? Do you need to invest more when you're younger? Do you need to spend less? It's not a set it and forget it system. Your needs, expenses, and goals will evolve. So should your withdrawal strategy and how you plan on getting there. The 4% rule is a solid foundation, but it's just that, a foundation. You still need to build a house that fits your life, your goals, your lifestyle, your peace of mind. So don't just plan to make it, plan to actually thrive, because retirement isn't the end of the journey. It's just the first time you get to live it on your own terms.